I first met Harold in the early 1960s. That's when I received an appointment here at Penn State. I can't think specifically of the event in which we met each other, but thereafter it's just one evolution of a very wonderful friendship. I think our friendship just evolved slowly, okay? And it became very pronounced and as if we had known each other all our lives. I can't think of any time that there was an interval when Harold was not involved in our life. Okay, there may have been periods which we didn't see each other for a while, but then he always reappeared, and there was just complete continuity to us. Harold was an artist. People have stereotypes of what artists are supposed to look like. They're supposed to dress in outrageous clothes, or they're supposed to have outrageous habits and manners. Harold certainly didn't dress in outrageous clothes, but he did have a kind of character to him that people thought indicative of an artist. And Harold had a wonderful wit, okay? Sometimes his wit bordered a little bit on the outrageous, but so what, you know, we all like that. He liked his mother very much, and she was already in her 80s, and he brought her to dinner one night. And he always would tell us beforehand. He talked about her a lot also when we got together. He talked about how repetitive she was and how she repeated things. So we sat down to dinner and she told us a story. And then she repeated it. Then he told her, you know, you're repeating the story. So then as the dinner went on, she repeated it once more. And finally he said to her, if you repeat that once more, I'm taking you home. And sure enough, she repeated it once more. He got up and says, we're going home. That was the end of dinner. It so bothered him. It didn't bother us, but it really bothered him. He wasn't this colossal egotist that people thought he was. And I think that's a very, very important thing to stress and to emphasize about Harold. There were images of Harold, and we saw other sides of Harold that were very important and very, very complimentary. Well, you had two very strong egos involved with Linda and Harold, okay? And somehow or other, they each, at some point, seemed to kind of clash and go off in their separate directions, okay? I always think that Harold liked Linda and admired her for some of her talents. I always believe that. But he was very angry with her because she was not responsive the way he would have liked her to have been responsive.
Did it surprise you when Harold introduced you to somebody that he was dating that was 30 years younger than him?
No, no. I mean, he talked about it, and this was part of the image, okay, that Harold liked and liked to think of himself as. So that was not surprising at all. And I told you what, he always wanted to talk about his kids. Like Garrison Keillor says, you know, when gone, the kids are above average. Well, that's what Harold thought, but much above average, all of you. Whenever I would go abroad, and I did go abroad a great deal, I would try and find postcards that suited Harold's taste, okay? If they were pornographic or permissible pornographic and get through the mail, I would send them to Harold, you know? And he saved every single one of them.
You can look through those and just kind of tell me what it is that you are looking at there.
Those are my cards. You found them. He went to the hospital because he kept talking about he was suffering from bleeding and stuff. And then I spoke to, I believe it was Toby, who probably told me that he had gone to the hospital and he was having troubles and that he had passed, he had died during the night. Yes, I remember that very clearly. I spoke briefly, you remember when Harold had that interment, I kind of broke up, and I still do. And my opening comment was, Harold, you left us too soon.
I agree. What do you miss most about him?
Him. I don't think there's any one thing. I mean, Harold was a composite individual for me. I can't think of a single thing I wanted. I think it was just the whole person, the whole being that I missed.